All right, welcome back. Quick little news of the day video. This is actually my second video of the day. This is the first time I've double uploaded since the end of TI10. And this is some news that I had just barely missed, which is something that kind of happens often, is I'll post a video and right after I post it, some big news breaks. But this is not something I was willing to let wait until tomorrow, and I was actually just about to leave the house. Shout out to KF5, a subscriber of the channel who's been watching for quite a while now and supporting. So shout out to you for notifying me of this change that I was just about to miss. And this is a big change I think a lot of people, including myself, were anticipating and were really hoping to see sometime soon. And that is a change to the DPC format to come, at least in some aspects. So there have been a numerous amount of changes here. Nothing too crazy. I think it's a lot of things that a lot of people were anticipating. I even myself made a video talking about some of the changes I'd like to see, and they addressed one of the three things I was hoping to see. And we'll get into the other two and if they'll end up changing anything. So of course, as per usual, everything in the description. This is all coming from Valve's TI10 and esports official website. This was not actually published or announced yet by Valve. This was just noticed by someone on Reddit who had noticed that there had been changes to the official website. So it's safe to say that what is here to stay for the next year. It's entirely possible that they make some minor tweaks or minor changes before they actually make their announcement. But as of recording this, no announcement yet, and this is how everything stands. So starting off, we have new point distributions, which I think was the biggest problem with last year's DPC circuit. And that was that majors didn't carry as much weight in point value as the regional divisions did, or the regional leagues did. You know, if you finished first place in your league, that was the same thing as finishing first place in a major, which I thought was like a huge contrast. In one hand, in your own regional league, you're playing 7 series across about a month and a half. So it's like 1 to 2 series a week, roughly. Very low key, very casual type of tournament. Whereas in the majors, you could be playing 10, 20 series in the matter of a week, depending on which stage of the major you actually enter from, if that's a wildcard stage. And you could end up walking home with 0 points despite playing, again, despite making it through the wildcard stage and the group stage, and then just kind of faltering on the main stage. So it was kind of weird the way that was spaced out. But yeah, the point distribution has been changed. So the old regional leagues contained a total of 1,100 points up for grabs spread across the top 5 teams. Almost half of that going to just the first place team, like I mentioned. And the majors consisted of 2,700 points. Well, now what they've done is they kind of scaled everything back a little bit, and I think this is a good thing. They basically made it so the earlier tournaments in the year are worth slightly less points, and as you go on through the year, everything you win is worth more. And I think this is generally a good system, just because you want to have the best playing teams heading into TI11. You want teams that are performing at their best heading into the tournament, while also not ignoring the fact that some teams could have peaked a little bit early, and so teams will have their chance to get some points early, and maybe if they start fizzling out, if they're still able to contain or obtain a few more points throughout the year, they can still be attending TI even though they're not at their peak. So starting off in regional, they take a huge dip going down to 690 points up for grabs. And this is actually spread across the top 6 teams, not only the top 5. So even more spread regionally, which I think all around is a great thing. As many more teams as possible getting points, I think is a good thing, especially not having the first place team getting so many. I really don't think finishing first place regionally should be as big as a deal as it was last year. But of course, we don't know the individual point spreads quite yet. And for majors, 1,900, so a big dip there, but that of course ends up building up to what it used to be and even more as the year goes on, because of course we're starting low. So by the time, and also as well, they're changing something. Last year it was called Season 1 and Season 2. You know, we had the Season 1 where we had the Singapore Major, and then Season 2 we had the Anna Major. Now the season consists of the entire DPC year, and rather than calling it what we used to call seasons, it's going to be tours. So in the first tour we have our regional league, and then we have our first major of the tour, and then we have our second tour and our third tour. So for the second tour, we have a regional point distribution of 920 points and a major distribution of 2,700, which is the same as it was previously. And then heading into the third tour, we actually are basically on par with the regional spread, 1,150 points spread across 6 teams, and then 3,500, which is the most we've ever seen distributed by any single tournament, at least in this format of the DPC. And that's going to be spread out across the third tour's major. And still the same way as it was before, only the top 8 at the majors are going to be securing points. So yeah, that's point distribution. All in all, I'm really happy with this change. Again, we don't know the individual point distributions. It's safe to say that the major point distribution is probably going to be to scale, or at least the same ratio as the last one, as it is still the top 8. However, the regional ones, I could imagine, are going to be a lot less top heavy, especially since there's now 6 teams being involved in the point spread. Next up, TI11 qualifiers. So there are going to be no open qualifiers for TI11. This is basically so like we had last year, and it's still going to be staying this year. We have an upper division consisting of 8 teams and a lower division consisting of 8 teams. If you are in the upper division and you finish bottom 2, you are getting relegated to the lower division, and if you finish top 2 in the lower division, you get relegated to the upper division. Well, if you finish bottom 2 in the lower division, you get relegated out of the DPC and you have to re-qualify. So essentially, every single tour, there's going to be 2 DPC slots per region up for grabs for anyone coming in through open qualifiers. And that third tour, the last tour, is essentially going to be the open qualifiers, because if your team participated in the third tour of the DPC, you are automatically entered into the regional qualifiers, where 1 team per region makes it, which is what we had this year. So the open qualifiers are essentially the third tour qualifiers, where the last 2 possible teams make it into the DPC circuit. It doesn't matter how poorly you do. If you finish bottom 2 in the third tour, you still have your regional qualifier opportunity. So something to keep in mind there. And yeah, and another thing they made it is so that you have to maintain at least 4 of your roster members from the third tour heading into the qualifiers. If you fail to do that, you might not be able to participate. And now we actually have some news, which I think is probably the most exciting news. I know it shouldn't be the most exciting, but to me it is, and it means that Dota is coming quickly, and that is that the roster locks are going to be taking place at 11:59 a.m. Pacific time. Of course, that's where Seattle is. November 21st, which is not very far away. That's less than 2 weeks away from now. And teams that are not fully complete yet at that point, teams that maybe are missing a player or 2, will actually have a week after that, so November 28th at 11:59, to get their last member on. But other than that, roster locks are happening November 21st, which can only mean that the DPC should be starting up by, I'd say, late November, early December, which is super exciting. Of course, that's going to mean that it's going to get cut off by the Christmas break and the New Year's break that are going to take place probably between the, I'd say, like late December to early January. Of course, that's when they are. But yeah, that means we should be looking at a first major coming up around the end of January, which is super exciting. More Dota to come. And they've also said, like I had mentioned earlier, 3 tours. So there's going to be 3 majors heading into this year's International. It's going to be interesting to see if they try and squeeze all of those in before August and maintain having TI in August, or if they're going to leave it in October. I think if they try and get it into August, it's going to be a really, really packed schedule. And it doesn't seem like they're condensing the seasons like some people were hoping they would. The seasons are still going to be played across about 6 weeks. So again, we'll see how that all settles up. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I even put a note here. Like I mentioned earlier, I made a video talking about some changes I'd like to see. One of them was point distribution, which they had addressed, and I'm really happy about. But some other ones that I had talked about were, one, the prize pool difference. I think that there should be a lot more funding heading into every tour. Old tours, back when the DPC system first started, when we had our 3 majors a year, there were $3 million per major, which was basically the same as the whole tour now, and we only have just over 2 million now. So the game has grown substantially, but the prize pool has actually diminished from what it used to be. So I think at least doubling the prize pool for every single finishing placement in the DPC would be nice, just because of how much the game has grown. And another thing that I was really hoping that they would touch on, which maybe they aren't until the time comes, and that's the major format. I find the major format where we have a wild card stage and then a group stage, and then some teams that don't even participate in either of them, just waiting in the upper bracket, was super clunky. Like I was alluding to earlier in the video, it meant that some teams, like Vici Gaming did it twice this year. They came in through the wild card stage, so they had to play 5 series in the wildcard stage, and then they had to play 7 or 8 series in the group stage, and then they made it to the main stage. So by the time they get there, they've already played like 15 series, and some teams haven't even played any. So I'm really hoping that they make some changes to that, but again, they might be holding off on that until the time comes. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. As always, what do you guys think of these changes? Are you just excited as I am that Dota is going to be coming? Let me know what you guys think. Of course, because this roster lock date is November 21st and we don't have a lot of time, that means there's probably going to be a lot of roster shakeups coming. Although I'm sure the managers of every team in the DPC was well aware of this date before it was actually dropped today. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow with another video. Bye.